Nearly a decade after the adoption of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, a UN body claims many of those rights remain unrealized. That, according to a statement of the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. Chandra Roy-Henriksen is with the forum. She joined us by Skype. Ms. Roy-Henriksen, what are the key messages the forum seeks to communicate through its statement?
Key message is that although we have had many gains, many achievements, we have had major steps taken at the international, at the local, at the regional level in terms of Indigenous peoples' rights, major gaps still remain, and there are many challenges that need to be addressed.
Now, your forum statement also claims that Indigenous struggles are actually even greater now than they were a decade ago. How so?
What has happened in the last 10 years since the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples was adopted by the UN General Assembly on 13 September 2007, 10 years later, we still continue to hear reports at the UN of Indigenous peoples who have major issues, major problems in terms of promoting, protecting, accessing, and securing their rights. And this is rights to lands, to territories, to resources. And one of the impacts that this has been felt on in terms of the Indigenous peoples' rights is basically that as the world is getting more and more densely populated, in terms of climate change, there are more and more issues and more problems that are impacting and influencing the way Indigenous peoples continue to live their lives and try to retain their rights and their identities and their culture.
So if states are not fulfilling the promises embedded in the UN Declaration today, what will it take to compel them to do so in future?
I think what we have to remember is that when it comes to the implementation of international standards, there are many actors that are involved. You have the member states as one, you have the civil society, but now more and more we have private companies that come in, huge multinational companies that wield great influence, whether it's at home or abroad. And of course you have other actors, including Indigenous peoples themselves. And thus, when it comes to implementation, what the UN system itself, and in particular the three Indigenous specific mechanisms, which is the UN Permanent Forum, the chairperson, the UN expert mechanism on the rights of Indigenous peoples, and the special rapporteur on the rights of Indigenous peoples, what they're saying is that this is a shared responsibility, and this is something that all of us must strive to do to make sure that the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples is a reality, that it's a living document that can bring about change and impact and improve the lives and well-being of Indigenous peoples around the world. It's a shared responsibility we all have to take together.
Ms. Roy-Henriksen, thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on board.